When life throws you a curveball, how are you going to handle adversity? Welcome to the Fearless Mindset Podcast, where you're about to go on a journey as I interview security, business, and entertainment leaders on what it takes to stay fearless. I'm your host, Mark Ludlow, and enjoy today's episode. Hello, folks. This is Mark Ludlow with the Fearless Mindset Podcast. And today we bring you a little something different. We're not talking about bodyguards and FBI agents or CIA counter-espionage spies or TV celebrity like Barbara Jeske or even a political figure like Corey Mills. Today, we have the honor of having Kelly with us. Kelly is a nationally recognized figure in the Olympics, in skating, where she kicked some real people's rear end on the rink, and she blew out her ankle. We know that story because we all saw it on TV. And now here she joins us. She's reinventing herself, and she's excited to share her story. Welcome to the show, Kelly.
Thank you so much for having me, Mark. I am so excited to be here today. As Mark said, yes, I am a 2014 Olympian. I'm happily retired and excited for the next chapter to really redefine myself as not just Kelly the Olympian, but Kelly the comeback kid. And you'll get to know more how I earned that title and how I really stuck to it. And at the end of the day, why it means so much to me.
Now, you're in a place in your life where you're making a huge transition, a big shift. And I think you said 25 years training in your entire life. That's a lot. That's half your life almost. 25 years of gym work on the rink, getting your time down, training muscles, weights, and all that. Now, it must be nice not torturing your body anymore. How does that feel?
It feels absolutely amazing, to say the least, because, yes, for 25 years, I was at the rink trying to get better, faster, and stronger, not only physically, but as well as mentally. So now that I don't have to do that every day, day in and day out, it is pretty remarkable. Sadly, my body probably hurts more now than when it did when I was in training, just because I'm not in the best care of hands of trainers anymore. But yes, it is so exciting to be on the other side of it and to know that when you're ready to retire, you're ready to retire.
And when you get up in the morning, I'm a Marine, as you know, and I get up in the morning, I feel it all. I was like, this sucks. If you would have told me when I was 20 years old, when I hit this certain age, I'd have to be getting CBD cream, put on the neck and back, blowing that disc in the back and all that. I was like, this sucks.
Mm-hmm.
Now, being an Olympian, what body parts hurt the most for you?
My back. And it is so kind of sucky, I guess, to kind of feel it. Just because I am in my early 30s, but I feel like I am probably mid and 90s, that some days are so bad that just standing, I just want to just cry because my back hurts so bad. But I mean, it's life, and I guess we just go through it. So, but yeah, I feel all the pain too. Don't worry.
So you mainly your back and your knees, and you probably your injury of your ankle when you blew out your ankle when you're racing, right?
Yeah, ironically, my ankle doesn't hurt as bad as the others of my back and knees. So I kind of got lucky there, which surprisingly, because it was the worst of the worst, but hey, I'll take it.
Now, what was the win? What were the high moments of being an Olympian? What were the high moments? What was the most memorable things you really enjoyed about that journey?
Oh, I love that question. So thank you for asking. The highest moment, I think, for me is coming back from everything that I've been through. Kindergarten, first grade, I was diagnosed with a learning disability, so much that it has carried with me for always, and it will forever. I mean, I'm 34 years old. I'm not going to wake up tomorrow and it's just not going to go away. I still have it, but someone that was so ashamed of it in middle school and high school, to now grow from that and to be so proud of it and to give back and to help so many others, that you can overcome. I mean, because when that bell rang in high school, I wanted to be that girl that was going to class with everybody else, but instead I was going to class alone at the end of the hallway. And I couldn't figure out, why I couldn't read or write, just like everybody else, because they made it so fun. And when I put my skates on, I did feel, like everybody else, where skating was so fun and it was so easy. But it was a challenge for me to overcome that. And that's where I'm so proud to now be on the other side of it, because I overcame it. And it's something that is so special to me because of that, going through that trial and error to really, find out that you can start to be the comeback kid at no matter what age. And then getting to the Olympics in 2010, I was new to the sport. I knew Vancouver for me was kind of out of mind, out of sight. I was skating those Olympic trials to really just get, the experience, to get the feel, not only the feels, but the emotion of the ride, because I knew my eyes were already on the prize for the next 4 years. I was new to the sport, but I wanted to skate those trials, as I said, to get all of that, underneath my belt. So going into the next, 4 years, I was ready to go. I was prepared. Unfortunately, I did make the 2010 Olympic team, and all of those feelings had come as I was a little girl. I can remember watching as if it was yesterday, with my nose pressed up against the TV stand. I was watching the 1994 Nagano, Japan, Winter Olympics take place, and I was watching figure skating. And I had said in that exact moment, I want to be on that stage someday. I was so completely memorized of these skaters telling their story, through these emotions of a ride that you can tell they worked so hard to get to that high end, and, everybody just be engaged. So all that childhood memory, had come alive. It had arose for 24 hours, that is. And then within that next 24 hours, I was being taken off by ruling. It came down to the competitor and I, who was given a skate, as we all were. She had placed third place and had fallen. And even with that time, it was still good enough for that time she had got for third place. And in long track, it's pretty cut and dry. I mean, you race the clock. So, there's no one really to bump, hit you or whatever. And I had saw that, she skated her time, her placement. I was the last pair to skate. My coach had said to me, Kelly, just, stay on your feet. We're going to the Olympics. And that's exactly what I did. I was named to the 2010 Olympic team, whole 9 yards, all those, as I said, all those feelings coming alive, coming true. As I was in drug testing and starting that whole process, I had found out that the girl that had gotten third place was getting a reskate. She skates an hour later, goes a second and a half faster with a personal best of the best time she's ever skated in her whole entire career. And that next day I was being taken off by ruling and she was put on. So if you want to talk about devastation, it really set in that night. And I really grieved with it. I really, was down. I couldn't really necessarily see how life was fair at that time. But I knew that I had to go to bed, and I knew that the next morning the sun was going to rise again. And I knew and know that in life we get these choices, and we can either choose to stay in bed or we can choose to get out of bed and go to practice. And that is exactly what I did, was to choose to go to practice that next morning. Was it easy? Not any by sort of imagination. Everybody's on a high. They're just getting ready to head off to Vancouver. They're excited. And here I was, just getting to get a taste of that medicine for it only to be taken away. But I also knew, as I cried on that practice that day, as hard as it was for me to see that and to feel all those emotions, that my mind was made up. I knew that in those next 4 years, I had to be better, faster, and stronger. And I knew that because of that, because of what I was going to go through, the athlete, not only the athlete as well, but the person that I was going to become, was going to happen in that mindset. And it was going to happen that an exact moment, because I could have easily walked away and not have come back. But I had said, I will be at the next 4 years Olympic trials, and I will earn my spot fair and square, and nobody will take me off of Olympic team. And I just have to be those three things at the end of the day: better, faster, and stronger. So that's exactly what I did. And then life goes on.
Yeah. Wow. You're passionate. You just light up as you're telling your story. I thought I'd let you know that. You have a light about you. This just when you go back to that time, there's so much success you had because you overcame so much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
You're truly an overcomer. Now you got to that place, and now you take us to the event in Russia that happened in Russia. What happened? Could you go into more detail about that moment when we were skating and all of a sudden everything just went south?
Yes. That actually happened 2.5 months later after the Vancouver trials. I skated the rest of the 10 season because I said I was new. I wanted to keep getting better and learning the new sport. I was racing the 500 meter of the weekend. It was the first race of March, the last race to close out the season. And I was nothing crazy. I wasn't going fast. I wasn't doing nothing like that. I was maybe going 5 miles an hour. With 5 miles an hour, entering the corner, my foot had a different plan for me that day. My blade wasn't in the ice, and I go from this long track speed skater that I should be doing and racing into sliding into home plate like a baseball player. I had my arms out in front of me and my feet up in the air. And the way that I had fallen and the way that my foot got stuck underneath the pad, it was the torque of that is kind of what detached it. As I was laying there, freezing cold on the ice as this baseball player, looking at the starting line where I had just come from instead of where I was supposed to be going, I knew a bone was broken. To the extent at that moment, I did not know how bad it was. I just took a really long, deep breath and looked behind my shoulder, and I saw my foot detached from my leg in that moment. So I turned back around and I kind of gave myself a little talk and said, "You're okay, Kelly. You're alive. The paramedics are coming. You're going to go to surgery. Somewhere else could be way off." And so much so that even on the way to the hospital, I'd asked the paramedics if and when I was going to be able to skate again. And they quickly reminded me that my foot, was not attached to my leg. But it was in that, exact mindset that, I was going into surgery and, hours after, that and days after being in there, the doctor came through and said the best words that he could have ever said to me. And that was to do my rehab at the Olympic Training Center that I've always dreamt of. Because as I talked about a little bit of wanting to be that girly girl and wanting to fit in, I never got to go to college. I never got to experience that. So to me, I've always looked at the Olympic Training Center as a college, but for athletes. There's your dorm rooms, there's, the cafeteria, the whole 9 yards. I'm now 23, turning 24 that summer, and I had never been off my skates since I was 6 years old. So I really didn't know what to do with myself. But I did what I would do every day that I'd been used to. Instead of training twice a day every day, I did rehab every day, twice a day, never missed a session. And I was in the best hands of the best doctors and trainers, and I made it fun, and so did they. And that's what, really got me back onto not only my feet, but mentally as well.
Wow. Just, I'm thinking if that happened to most Marines, something that devastating would happen to them, they would probably start drinking, smoking pot, playing video games, and give up on life. Or anybody else for that matter. They probably get so depressed, they'd sit home, but you were able to flip that mental switch of overcoming adversity, and you had a reckless abandonment about you, an obsession.
Thank you.
And that's very rare, and you find any people. People just usually just give up. Oh, screw it. Take the easy road.
Yeah. And I think that's what I've learned, and that's why I'm so passionate about telling my story is that, like you said, so many people can, just give up and throw in that towel, but, why be there and be miserable and not be able to get out of that pit? I'm no way saying that it's easy and it doesn't take years upon years, to get out of it. Everyone's different. It could take them 5 days. It could take someone 5 years or 5 months. But, it's all because of how strong we are. And I always chose to, to always say at the end of the day, we can always just say that we tried instead of being in that pit and throwing in the towel, because what does that get us at the end of the day? It doesn't really get us very far for what we want to do.
So what were the biggest moments in school that really gave you that fire to, because you explained on the podcast that you had an issue with reading and an issue with writing, understanding, and your brain just didn't function. I had a little bit of dyslexia when I was in the Marine Corps. I could not make my bed. They want a 90-degree angle. I was making 45-degree angles, and I was getting bent by the drill instructors. I didn't understand what was wrong with me. I got things switched around, and I did the email today, and I put Gmail instead of the other email, and I screwed that up. And so we all are human. We have our things. We do. So when you were going to school, did people make fun of you? Were you bullied a lot too in school?
Actually, no, not whatsoever. I think I really hit it well with skating. And, really, use that, where in high school, they would say, why, Kelly, like, why don't we see you in art classes? Like, where are you? And I was like, oh, like, I'm just like studying, or I was gone for skating or whatever. I just really blew it off. And I was really just going to special ed classes. But no, I never, really got picked on in that aspect, where I'm so, blessed and thankful that I didn't. But, it's hard because, I can see and I can feel, others who can, get picked on, and how much, that can hurt them. And it's something that, it isn't easy to deal with by, any sort of imagination, but, there's always that light into, to use that, as of who you are, and to let that come out of you. And I think that's what is so special about each individual one of us, is that we're all different and we're all, unique. And if you would have asked me in high school if I could have had one answer prayer, to come true, it would have been, I wish I was smart. And now, if you would ask me that, I would laugh and say, thank God that did not come true, because I can see and value, how much more I can do in life because I'm not that book smart. And, we grow and we really define who we are within what's inside of us. And I think that's what's so special.
Hey, Kelly, I'll tell you a little secret. The audience probably doesn't know this either. I hate reading.
Yes.
I open a book, I start reading, I actually literally start falling asleep. The minute I start reading a book, it's always been my biggest dilemma in college. Because when I went to college and I was like academic probation. I just didn't enjoy reading. My brain just turned off immediately. I go in the Marine Corps, I get back, I go back to school, I'm 4.0. I'm like, I don't know what happened.
Yeah. Wiser and older. That's what happened.
But yeah, we all, to the audience, we're not perfect. Like Kelly mentioned, she was going to special ed classes and nobody really knew. We're not perfect in every way. We all have our issues, and it's amazing to see how you're able to turn that for the better, to the good, and pour that into skating and a release for you. That's pretty powerful. Yeah. Did your parents have a big, huge influence in your life too? What was your family like?
Yeah. Thank you for saying that. I appreciate it. My family life was a little bit harder as well. So not only in high school was I dealing with appearance, I no way believed in myself. I was the girl who thought that the short reddish burgundy color was a good idea back in the 90s, like Christina Aguilera, Britney Spears. Yeah, I just wanted to look like them. And you add on the braces, and it was not whatsoever a look for me. So I had no belief, and the answer was simple, because I had no belief at all, no confidence. And I just, wanted to really push myself in that way. And as I started to really wanting to make friends throughout high school, I would sit and listen to conversations, and they would talk about their parents and their mom and dad. My dad lived with us here in Ohio. And so my mom and I moved to Michigan. And when her and I moved to Michigan, he really just took the back seat of things. He had a really bad alcoholism problem, a learning disability. It's actually where I get mine from.
Sure.
And it was something that was so hard for me. So hard for those 4 years in high school. I had to go see a counselor. And I never really expressed this part of my story of it, but I'm so proud of it as well. As I would go sit in this counselor's office and this gentleman, and those like big comfy chairs and whatnot. And I would just bawl my eyes out every single time. And he would just pass me the box of tissues. And the reason why I was crying is I just couldn't grasp the concept of why this man wasn't in my life. And not only that, but I was calling it every birthday. I was calling it every holiday, pretty much so begging. And I still have his last name. I will always have his last name. And it was so hard for me that he would always just say to me, Kelly, you're the only one that's getting hurt at the end of the day because you keep trying and you keep putting out there. Now, mind you, as a 16, 17-year-old girl, I really didn't get that concept of under grasping of exactly that I couldn't change him, even though as bad as I wanted to. He had to change from within whom he was. And I couldn't do that. And that was such a huge life lesson for me, because as I got older and really grew through that, I really thank him for giving me what he did, because I know I would have the backbone that I did and do have is because of him. And in my early 20s, he passed away of a massive heart attack. And I went from, I may never go to the funeral to hanging from a chandelier, because I grew through that, that pit. Instead of being, miserable, I learned as I got older that that's just who he was. And having that memory tucked away in the back of my mind from that counselor saying, Kelly, you can't change them. They're always going to be who they are going to be, whether it's an alcoholism problem or whatever they have. My father it was just alcoholism he had, they have to change from whom they are. And I would tuck and pull that out of my memory and say, I love him and he is who he is, but I can't change him from whom I want him to be.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So when he passed away with a massive heart attack, how did that affect you? Take us to that moment when you found out the news. Did your whole world collapse? What was that like for you from that day one to, let's go a couple months? What was that like? Was it just chaos?
Yeah. Thank you for asking. So I don't think I've ever been asked that. Yeah, it was really so because one, my injury had just happened. So I was not able to walk at that time. And as I said earlier, I was like 23 turning 24. And the reason why I say that is because that was the first and last time I had saw my dad since I was 12 years old. We were on our way to Kentucky. It was my brother, my mom, and I. We have a very small family. And we had stopped through there as we were going to Nashville. And so that was the first and last time I had saw him. And it was such a good feeling to finally see him, I think, and to see that's just who he was. And it really was that disease that he had, and at that time, as I was getting older, I was letting him in my life a little bit more because I'd been hurt for all of those years. I really kept my guard up where I wouldn't let him in because I didn't want to get hurt anymore, because I did for so many years and years, time and time again. But going through that funeral and hearing the news, I was completely devastated, to say the least. But I got over it a little bit, maybe faster than I would have if I would have been closer to him, or I was that daddy's little girl that I've always wanted to be, but because I've had those years, of absence, when he passed and as months and years went on, it kind of just had feels and felt the same. But now, I miss him, but now I know he's always there. So.
What was the key for you to unlock that block to make a connection with him again?
Mm-hmm. I think it was really my mom who had said it to me, as we were driving, and said, Kelly, if you want to see him, we're passing through, let's just see. And I think I had said to myself, it's time, I'm older and, and having those memories from what that counselor had said to me play out in the back of my mind that, he is just who he is. And if I want to see him, that I can choose to see him, or I can choose not to. So I chose to. And then just realizing, what alcoholism was, and he would, laugh or make a joke, I would just say to myself, well, that's not really Bill talking, or, whatever. And it just kind of became funny. So I think that's why it was really, hard for me, but yet easier to let him in than I had thought it was going to be.
Okay, Kelly, we have probably a lot of ladies who'd be listening to this podcast who have been through who are walking through your shoes, or maybe about to walk in those shoes. What advice can you give those young ladies out there, 20, 30-year-old young ladies that are trying to figure out what to do with their boyfriend, who may be going through the same thing? He's an alcoholic. Maybe their father is the same situation you had with your father. What advice can you offer them to really get them to heal?
Just really know who you are, and, strong-willed, I think. And what the best advice that I could give is really get to know, whom they are, and to really understand that they have to change from within whom they are. And I will say that until I'm blue in the face, because no matter how bad we want to change them, we cannot change them for whom we want that to be. If that was the case, I would be married and I would be on my way. But things work out differently. And we have to know too, that it's in those moments that it sucks. Absolutely. I mean, for my sweet 16, I bawled my eyes out because that's all I wanted for a birthday. And if you ever would have asked me, would I have thanked my dad for making me who I am? No way would I ever give him credit for all that pain that he put me through. But now I'm so thankful he put me through those dark days and those pain, because I am who I am, because I'm so strong, because I went through that. You have to go through that crap and that mud and that quicksand to be able to get out of it and to use whom you are. Because as you had asked me earlier, what do you do if you stay in that quicksand? You're always going to stay in that quicksand. You're never going to get out, but if you realize that it's just a time of a period that you're in it, and you are going to get out of it. But it all becomes from who you are, and you get to choose if you want to come out of it. Because just as if we want to change somebody and we can't, it 1000% goes from within who we are. Also, we can change, and like say to ourselves, well, it sucks to be miserable, or this or that, or we can say, no, I want to get to here, and I want to better myself into this and that. So that's what you have to do, is to know that it's not a forever, and to keep pushing yourself. And it's not you. Please always know that it's not you. You are doing nothing wrong, but to make yourself stronger and to realize who you really are, so you can use your message and help so many others someday.
Wow, that was pretty profound. That's something I couldn't say from a podcaster, being a host. I can't say that because I'm not Kelly. I haven't been through that journey that you've been through. And one thing, when you're saying all that, it reminds me that we all go through seasons in our life. We have some great seasons of prosperity, seasons of great relationships, seasons of great career. And those seasons change like the weather does. And that's life.
Yes, exactly. 1000%. And you have to know that. And you have to know that that's just life, and it's going to get better. And sometimes you're given those seasons of the bad to get through the good, because if you don't go through the bad, how are you ever going to get to the good?
Well, I had a mentor of mine tell me one time, I was going through some crap. I'm not sure what the crap was. I called him up and said, "Hey, Tracy, I don't know what to do. Things aren't working out. I'm just frustrated. I'm just ticked off." He said this profound statement: "Mark, it's always darkest before the dawn." I'm like, okay, all right, check, reset, as they say in sports. So now you're in a time of your life, you're working retail, you're building your foundation. Kelly's going to be going on the speaking tour here shortly. So she's building her business, and she's putting herself out there, and she's hustling. She's networking. She's different social media platforms. You can find her on LinkedIn, right, Kelly?
Yes, sir.
and
Yes.
LinkedIn. You're on Instagram. I don't know where else. You're probably everywhere. I have no idea. But
Yeah. I'm most present. If anyone, I always say I'm an open book. So if you ever want to reach out, we're going through something, chances are I maybe so have walked that line. So I'm always willing to help and transform you to be your own comeback kid. So Instagram, if you see 2 R's, Kelly Gunther, that is still me. Yes, I am on LinkedIn, and I pop in and out of Clubhouse here and there, but more presently than found on Instagram.
Now, if anybody like agency want to get a hold of you to represent you on like putting you on the speaking tour, put you up against Grant Cardone because you actually did something. Just kidding, Grant. That's a joke, Grant.
I would love to meet him, by the way, to see where he got to where he is. So, Grant, if you are listening, can you please just give me a tad bit of a nugget? But yes, if any's listening, email or whatnot.
So what's the best place to email you? Where, like, if an agent's listening to that and they want to book you for a conference with women or something about a motivational, inspirational conference they want to have you speak at, where should they email you at?
I just actually made a new one today. It's pretty simple. It's just Kelly Gunther at outlook.com.
Okay.
It's all one word. So
just get ready, folks, because Kelly's going to be blowing up here soon. Her business plans are to go on tour, and she's working on a book and to talk about her story as a little girl and special needs and the diversity and being an Olympian. So I'm sure that's going to be an amazing book, and I'm sure they're going to probably make a movie about her someday. And she's looking to go on the circuit. So if there's an agent out there or agency that want her talents, just reach out to her. And we're going to dive more into that now, Kelly, about, what are you looking to do? I mean, I know you're talking to different organizations about getting on the tour. So how's that looking for you now?
Yeah, thank you so much for plugging me. I really appreciate it. Yes, right now, I'm really just looking into diving into high schools, different organizations, different conferences. I did some research on special education conferences around the world. That would just be a complete honor and a dream come true to be not only just to ever get to go there, but to speak and just to help, that group of spectators to listen. And that goes for teachers as well. Special education teacher conferences, parents who don't know how to, really not live curiously through their child. And then the child who may be growing up with or without a parent or, grandparents, whatever, any conferences that I can plug myself into, I would love and honored to go there just to help and share and tell my story.
Who's the biggest motivation, inspiration to you as a woman in the world right now?
That's a good one. I'm going to have to say Barbara for sure.
Barbara who?
Barbara. Yes.
Oh, wow. The Barbara Majewski.
Yes.
Okay.
She's such a role model to me. Molly Dare, some of them, a few of them that I've met on Clubhouse, because I see where they are, and I really want to get to, to that next level. And then, of course, there's always Oprah, the next big thing. But, I really say Tony Robbins, for me, I know he's not a female, but I'm like, gosh, if I could that's what I want to be, but more, my own person, I don't want to ever be him, but, to be on those world's biggest stage as he is. But I want to be, the humble and Kelly, the girl next door, to be able to connect with so many.
What about Tony Robbins clicks with you? What about him?
I think it's his way he drives and the way that he talks is, for me, it's a lot of the sports end, I think, that comes in it, where it's just, that's how I can relate to him, is because it's very, if you want to do it, you do it. If you don't,
right.
You don't.
All right. Here's the big one. What pulls you to Barbara Majewski? What about her?
From the moment I met her, we did a Zoom and she was like, "Oh my God, Kelly, you're way too nice. You're from the Midwest." And I was like, "Yeah, you're right." But, hearing that and, taking that, one, is a little bit of a compliment, but two, it's like, no, like, you don't know me. Like, no, I'm Kelly, the comeback kid. And, she's on those, stages that I want to be on. Like, I dream of being on, Good Morning America or the Today Show. Just not only, to be on there, but to have that, come alive for me and to be bigger than the Olympics. So that's why I really follow who she is. And I just, I love her story and what she's come through. And I think that's so remarkable.
So do you have like conversation with Barbara on a monthly basis? Do you guys keep in touch?
Yeah.
Good.
I'll reach out to her here and there, just to nugget her, or like, she, like, just a week ago, I was like, I sent her my one page for my speaking. And I was like, oh, remember that nice girl? I told you I was going to get there. Just to, you're always proving not only to yourself, but to everybody that you can do it. And that comes from my skating background. And that comes from, just whom I am from all those setbacks is, you can never count any comeback kid out, but to always show up and be who you are.
What I gather from you is 90% mental in everything you do.
It 1000% is.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So I assume what do you think? You're probably out there dating, I'm sure. You're 30 years old out there in the Midwest. What is it like in the dating world to date these guys out there?
Well, I love that you asked that, because I have never gotten asked that on the podcast. But I actually do not date. How
come?
And the reason why is because I am very old school. I don't believe in online dating. And my faith is really big to me. And I have just always said, God will put my career first and, love, what I'm doing first before I can be truly happy to find somebody else. And the reason why I say that is because I am living in Ohio. July just marked 2 years that I've lived here. It was a complete leap of faith that I ended up here. 1000% leap of faith. Like I had said, I'd go homeless before I moved to Ohio. So I've learned to say never say never. I lived in Salt Lake City for 12 years. So I was either going to become Mormon really quick, which there's nothing wrong with Mormon, or I need to get out on the other side of the mountains to end up in the South. And that's really where I want to go. I'm looking to head to Chattanooga, possibility to go check it out. And I think that's really what gets lost in, who I am as well, because ever since I was a little girl and I had dreamt of going to the Olympics, I've always dreamt marrying into a big family, and I spoke a little about of my background of my family, where it's just my mom, my brother, and I now, we're all very different. And I'm kind of, I don't know if I want to say the outcast, but I'm just very different from whom they are. And I want to always be married into a big family. And the reason why I laugh being a Midwest girl, because I have no idea where I got this from, but I've always wanted to marry a Southern guy because of Southern hospitality. I love their mannerism, the way they talk.
Chivalry.
Yeah, like I said, I've always grew up in the Midwest, so I don't know where I got the accent from or how I got the idea from. But ever since I was like 6 years old, when I said I want to go to the Olympics, I was like, I want to marry into a big family. So that's where it came from.
There you have it. Chivalry is huge.
Yes.
Wow. There you go. You got some nuggets there and some cues, boys.
Yeah, it's something I don't share very often, but there you go.
There you have it. And I respect your, I love your, I can't ignore it. You have the little sign in the back that said, "Lead me, Lord." I've been noticing that a lot in the last 20, 30 minutes. What does that mean to you?
It means everything to me. And it always reminds me that as much as I want to be in the driver's seat, that I am not, and that God is 1000% in control and in the driver's seat. So the reminder is for me is that God's going to lead me, and he's going to lead me to where I'm supposed to be. And that's why I think really the true passionate comes out of my story and who I am, because he lives, through me, and that's what he's given me to do. I was never supposed to win a gold medal, 1000%, never. And this is why. Because if I did, I maybe would not be speaking and telling my story that I am. And I'm so thankful for that. So,
so true.
So yeah.
Very good point. Because if you won the gold medal, boom, you wouldn't be here probably.
It changes everything.
Wow, perspective's everything. And then when you just said that, I had a flashback at being in the Moto Center with my 4 younger sisters, listening to Carrie Underwood sing "Jesus Take the Wheel."
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Well, great story. Thanks for sharing. This is Kelly from the Midwest, and it's Gunther, right?
Gunther, yep.
Gunther, an Olympian, 2014, right?
Yes.
And she was in Sochi, Russia, too. And if you don't know about her, YouTube her name and you'll find it. And you'll probably see her skating out there. And she's making a major transition from athlete to public speaking circuit. And she is looking for opportunity. And this is Mark led the Fearless Mindset podcast. And Kelly, you are my first Olympian athlete to be on the show.
Thank you. It was such an honor to be here, to be the first Olympian and to share and tell my story. So I really appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, we have Frank Mir, and he's 2-time world heavyweight champion in UFC. He's a fighter. Then you have Bella, the youngest female fighter at 17, but you are my first female Olympic athlete. That's pretty cool. And you have just an amazing story. I mean, you have I see an inner strength about you. Mm-hmm. From everything you've been through, most people wouldn't have that kind of internal strength that you got. It's just very rare to find.
Thank you. It means a lot. I appreciate it.
I know you've been through a lot to get that. We call it badge of honor. You've been through that, the fire of life. Now you get that badge of honor, and you carry it well. And I can't wait to see where your career takes you in the next probably next year or so. Because I know you're kind of like in boot camp preparation to build your business over there and get yourself out there.
Yeah, you got that right. Hopefully not next year. Hopefully in the next few months, because I'm hitting the ground running. But yes,
everything really booked as of yet?
As of right now, no. I just started this morning.
Wow. So this is September the 27th, Monday. Okay, let's write that down, folks. Let's keep track of this. September 27th, Monday, 2021. Let's watch you rock. I think we just lost you.
Oh, am I still here?
I got your voice. I think it's frozen. We got your voice.
Oh, I'm sorry.
There you are. We got you.
Okay.
A little delay. All right. So folks, this is Kelly, the Olympian, and has a great story to tell about overcoming a lot of things in life and the Olympics. And we're happy to have her on. And we will let you guys keep you guys posted as an audience where she goes. But we'll definitely do another podcast when you start blowing up over there.
I hope so. Well, yes, thank you so much. And I would be honored to come back on for a podcast and see where we are.
Love to have you. All right, folks, that concludes our episode. We'll catch you on the next one. This is Mark Fearless Mindset.